True believers.
They're not
No
with the shit.
way. I did delete it. Oh my god,
That
that's
sucks.
so annoying.
Pain.
Oh!
Epic fail.
There she goes.
All right, we are live on YouTube. Be right back. I got food in the microwave.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
How many days war till you're back at it?
April 14th, 13th.
Okay, gotcha.
I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yo, Jedi, what's the delay you put on your live?
Gang shit.
Huh? What do you say?
Are you asking
That's
War
all.
Daddy what his YouTube is for the live?
No, Jedi, what's the delay you put on his live?
Oh, I don't know if he streams with the delay. We'll have to wait till he comes back.
Yeah, we got a few guys trickling in. I'm gonna give it till 8:10.
Welcome those of you joining.
Go to good old MS Paint. You already know.
Yeah, if it hits like 8:05 and the others aren't coming in, we can always just maybe remind the Bellum roll in the server. I don't know, I'm trying to be conscious of the pings.
Pings, yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck it, just start spamming them.
But I mean, to be fair though, people can always change the preference, so like, but I get it. Well, now I open the call chat and I see an invite to the 4th. Let's fix that.
What?
If you open the channel for the chat here, it's Cookie inviting people to the 4th, so we're gonna.
We do the same thing. I'm not even.
Yeah.
Can't have that.
I'm just gonna
kind of a-
repost ours.
It's a free for all. Where is? Don't everyone do it at once. Oh my goodness, you guys are a
No.
cult.
I'm doing it. I'm doing it.
Trying to see if I have any videos on my phone.
Was the helmet cam from a training?
Yeah, it was a live fire platoon range we did.
Damn.
Yeah, dude, this shit was not heavy. This shit was not good to go.
Well, hopefully after your next little stint here, you should have some good footage, maybe.
Oh, I hope so, dude. That would be lovely. Where the? Okay, hold on. See if I can scroll down. See if I can find one from. Come on, bro. Why are people DMing me in all caps? That's.
Yeah, your notification popped up there. That's funny. Do you know that guy from before? Because I saw you say the trio is back or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
I assume so. That's why I didn't bombard him with the welcome message. So I was like,
Where the fuck is? You're telling me I don't have any videos? Oh, it's on my old phone. No. I can't have nothing nice, bro.
Your failure of prior planning is evident.
Jedi, someone asked while you were away, do you have a delay on your stream or no?
I think I have about a minute delay, maybe.
Try.
Hang on. Let me swipe my mouse on the screen here, and then I'll see when it shows up. Oh, no, it's like 15 seconds.
Okay. Oh, good. I don't think it matters that much.
Not for training.
No.
If we were competing, even doing like a
I'll
playtest
check.
weekend, then it would be better to have a longer delay.
Mm-hmm.
Like once we start competing, I probably will not live stream during competitions. Unless it's on like a multiple minute delay or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like 5-minute delay or something.
Yeah,
crazy.
something where there's very little chance that it would be useful intel,
Yeah.
you know?
Impactful. Yeah. By the time they're seeing it, obviously it's not active. They're
Yeah.
not current.
Yeah. However, sometimes you do establish pretty static positions, so
That's true.
even 5
And
minutes
Bellum
might not be long enough.
too.
Yeah.
I mean, but I guess if they know you have a 5-minute delay, they won't really be thinking you're going to be staying there for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Alright, I'm not able to find a freaking cool little attention gainer. Normally you're supposed to have an attention gainer. But I'm not finding any of it. They're on my old phone. I don't have access to my old phone anymore, which is really annoying. But alright, we're gonna go ahead and kick this in because I'm not about to waste anyone's time here. So today we're gonna go ahead and go over what it looks like for the find, fix, and finish, the 3 Fs. We're also gonna go casualty combat care, especially under fire. And the final one's going to be like what happens at the end of an engagement after you, we'll say, win the fight. Okay. I'm going to be using MS Paint for this. It is the handy dandy MS Paint we all know and love. Super simple, super easy to follow along with. Red X's are going to be enemies. Blue circles will be friendlies. We're going to be talking about the squad level, specifically the squad level. Last week, if you saw my post in the training, we covered fire team level, individual, and squad level, just general tactics. Today, we're going to get a little bit more into the nitty gritty of offensive actions, especially find, fix, and finish. So, what do we need to do, right? So, what we need to do is first we have to find the enemy. Okay. So, how do we find the enemy? All right. There's something called a rifle report. Bear with me. I'm very sporadic here, but so we're going to find the enemy. Okay. And then the next question is going to be how, or not ho, how. All right, so how we find the enemy, you're going to listen to what's called a rifle report. Put this in full screen so you guys can see, actually. Now, what is that? So a rifle report is any sound emitted from a weapon system. My son's calling me. Give me 1 second. A weapon system that can give you a general direction and estimated distance. Obviously, if you hear firing from the left, or say west, you can assume, right, that the fire is not going to come from your right. It's really, really simple. Also, you can tell by the rifle report roughly how far it is, right? So if it's really loud in your ears, there's going to be one of those things that you can instantly tell this is really close. You may not have a specific, oh, that's 30 meters, but you're like, yo, that's closer than 100, that's further than 100, etc. Now, there are also distances at which you can't really estimate because of how far it is, but if you can hear, for example, if you hear the crack of a round overhead and you are able to have consciousness or state of mind where you can count the seconds between the crack of the round over your head and the sound of the rifle report, you can do a little bit of math there. I forgot the formula of how many seconds equals how many whatever, but I can look it up, or one of you can look it up. I think it's the same concept of seeing lightning and then counting the seconds till you hear thunder kind of thing. And you can get a rough estimate of how far it is. So that's the rifle report. The other way to find the enemy is visual contact, right? So I'll put another method. Eyeballs. Okay. Your eyeballs. In Bellum, it's going to be very difficult sometimes to really see people unless you have changed your graphic settings, et cetera, et cetera. We're not getting into that now, but once you do see people, you will start to, as you play the game, get a rough idea of how far. No, not a Sills halt, but you'll roughly get an idea of how far someone is just based off of the game feeling, right? There's certain gameisms that we have to apply to real world things, right? And so in this instance, a rifle report, I see somebody based off the time I've spent in the game, I can kind of get an idea. Okay, that guy is within 100. That guy's further than 100. I use 100 a lot because most engagements you're going to have are going to be within 100, right? Very rarely are you going to engage anyone past 100, max 150 meters, just because we are using iron sights and one-time zoom optics. Now, you may see somebody past 150 meters. That's awesome, right? And you need to note that and try and use a terrain around you to kind of identify where they're at. It's called terrain association. So we use eyeballs. We can do terrain associate, which means I'm going to look at that individual across the way and try and match what terrain he's next to what's on my BTAC. So if I see that he's next to, say, a village, right, or he's in the village, it's the biggest village around. I'm gonna look at my BTAC, find the biggest village around, and then I can boom, terrain associate. Hey, he is at this village, and then you can get a rough estimate through the BTAC. Especially once we get grid lines and contour lines, we'll be able to see actual more accurate distances, right? So you can use terrain association. You can use known. We don't have mill scale reticle or bullet drop compensators in any of our scopes, but we do have, right? We do have other things that we can use to get a idea of how far, right? So use things that you know, right? Imagine your typical, we'll say 5'6" to 6 foot man standing next to a sedan or vehicle, right? More times than not, he is, you know, there's going to be a certain kind of like ratio. And if you see a car or a van and you see that that dude is way bigger than that van or that car, you know that he's going to be relatively close, right? If you see that he's smaller than that car or that van, then you know he's going to be farther away. Or if he starts to slowly match the same size of the van or car, then you can also gauge distance from there. So we're going to say known items. Okay, think of a barrel, think of a tire, think of a doorway, things of that nature. So those are your two methods. You're audible, you can't smell them and you can't taste them and you can't feel them. So the other two ones are going to be your eyes and your ears, right? So that's how we find them. So once we are, okay, so we're going to put enemy found, all right? We're going to say the enemy is found right here at this X, all right? We're going to say the distance between us and the enemy is about 150 meters. Okay. Now, like I said prior to, 150 meters is really kind of far for the engagements that we have, right? Even for the 240s, because the 240s sights are inhibiting, then yeah, it's going to be kind of an issue. So let's see. So I'm replying to, I apologize, there's something important I have to reply to. The 240, even with the sights, you can reach out and touch somebody. The sights kind of inhibit you from actually seeing the target you're shooting at, and the beaten zone and grazing fire. There's a whole lot of go into that. But what I really want you guys to focus on right now is it's 150 meters. No, it wouldn't be cheating, KB. That'd be funny though. 150 meters, and you see the enemy. The enemy sees you, so you are now in contact, right? Visual contact with the enemy. You guys are about to start shooting. The squad leader will do a small circle for the squad leader. The squad leader should insert himself at the point of influence, right? And we know the point based off of last Tuesday. We know that the point of influence is essentially the puppet master. You're in a position where you pull all the strings. Your gun is not your weapon. Your soldiers, your squad members are your weapon. Their guns are your guns, right? You're essentially just a glorified ammo bearer that's competent and is tactically savvy. All right, so you recognize, hey, there's an enemy 150 meters roughly. You give the 3Ds, direction, distance, description. So contact front, 150 meters, enemy fire team in the open. So what happens now, right? So we have to do the second F. So we found the enemy, we need to now fix them. How do we fix them? There's a few ways how we fix them. So what we're going to do is we're essentially going to use what's called a supporting and a supported concept, right? Ted and Ting, right? Ted and Ting, they're brothers, and they always work together. The support Ted unit is going to be the unit that does this number here, the flank. They are the supported unit, or the Ted unit. The Ting unit, the brother Ting, is a support Ting unit. He's the guy that's going to be essentially shooting everything in this sector, suppressing for Ted to go around. So this is also known in military jargon as a SBF or a support by fire. If you want to get real technical, it's also known as an IBOF, right? Technically, a support by fire is an external unit or an attached unit, like a machine gun section, squad, or team, that is supporting another unit by fire. An IBOF is an internal base of fire, which means that you are internally or organically supporting yourselves. Okay, those are the you can call it those two things. If you want to get super technical, you'd call it IBOF. If you want to just be blanket statement, it's an SBF. All right. So your support by fire is engaging the enemy. They're suppressing, right? So what does that look like? What does that sound like? What does fix actually mean, right? So fix means I am keeping them on a certain piece of terrain or in a certain position where they cannot move. Or if they try to move or try to shoot at me or my friends, they're going to get hit. Or we make it very likely that they're going to get hit, right? We want to make them essentially think, hey, this is a bad idea. I should not poke my head up to try and engage these guys. Okay, so what does that sound like, right? So we're going to move this little support by fire thing. I'm going to put it down here. We're going to go over here, go black. We'll do another one. All right, so suppression. Come here, text box. Suppression is characterized by you are essentially outputting enough rounds, whether it be by volume or by accuracy, or both, to where the enemy cannot engage you or your friends. So suppression, in layman's terms, keeps the enemy pinned down / cannot accurately engage you or friendlies. I'll put friendlies. All right. That is suppression in very basic, very layman terms. All right. So suppression sounds a lot like this. Contact front, 150 meters, enemy fire team. Alpha team, suppress. Bravo team, action right. All right, boom. Let's break that down. So we'll say alpha team is going to be the one suppressing. Bravo team is going to be flanking. We're in a staggered column just for this scenario. So alpha team is going to immediately get on line with each other. So they're going to get in a straight line. So here's your 4 guys from alpha team. Okay. Now, within this, you're going to have multiple weapon systems. A saw gunner, a grenadier, sometimes a medic, a rifleman, a team leader, right? Regardless of whatever the ammo or weapon systems that you have, the goal is this. The goal is to send enough rounds down range. We're just going to use these dotted lines, right, towards the enemy, so that Bravo team can have freedom of maneuver, meaning he can move unimpeded, uninhibited, not delayed, to where he can get off to almost a perfect perpendicular or 90-degree offset. Okay, that's perfect world. You're not always going to get that, but in this case, we're going to go with perfect world. So he gets his 90-degree offset. Okay, the suppression sounds a lot like this: die, motherfucker, die, or die, mother trucker, die, for those PG whatever. And what you're doing is you're saying that ditty or that little saying as you hold the trigger, and once you finish that saying, you let go of the trigger, right? That should be about 6 to 8 rounds coming out of your gun if you're on full auto. You let go. You do that 2 or 3 times, right? Then you've gained fire superiority, and that's called the rapid rate. And then you're going to drop down to what's called a sustained rate, which should be 1 round every 3 to 5 seconds. Why do we say 1 round every 3 to 5 seconds? So I want you to imagine you are on the other side of the map, or even halfway through the map, and you're blowing through your ammo. How soon are you going to have to go back to base, right? You're going to be combat ineffective because you're shooting all your ammo every time you get into an engagement. It's not logistically feasible to, 1, maintain the fight, or 2, maintain influence, now that we know influence is part of the game, because you're always leaving out of the AO to rearm. All right, cool. So We do rapid rate, die motherfucker die, die motherfucker die, die motherfucker die, right? So we'll do die motherfucker die, let go of my mouse. Wait a second or two. Die motherfucker die, let go of my mouse. One more time, die motherfucker die, let go of my mouse. From there, you can move into that sustained rate, right? Either your team leader tells you or you take it upon yourself with individual action or initiative to do it, right? This is where you start to get more accurate and more refined shots, right? The first initial die motherfucker die, those three, those were initially just to gain fire superiority and get the enemy to regret shooting at you guys, right? From there, you're just going to start calling out very specific things. The fire team leader can say, hey, there's an enemy RPG by the rock on the left. Hey, there's an enemy grenadier by the hut on the right. Like, you know, you can start getting into more refined 3D or more refined target direction distance description for the guys inside your team. All right. So now you got the sustained rate, sustained rate, 1 every 3, 1 every 5, or what do you want to call it? So I'm going to pull the trigger once. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. Pull the trigger again. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. Pull the trigger again. Why am I doing it like that? I'm doing it like that again to sustain my ammo, right? I want longevity in the fight, but also you have 4 separate people. Not everyone's going to count 1 Mississippi or 1 second at the same rate. So there's going to be variations and staggering of the rounds without even intentionally trying to stagger the rounds, right? The way I count and the speed at which I count and the cadence I use will be different than the next guy. And so from there, you can essentially say, okay, there should be some sort of munition flying towards the enemy at all times, right? But you're not going through your entire loadout just to keep this one enemy pinned down and fixed, right? All right, cool. So we've suppressed the enemy. So how do we finish, right? So now we're going to go ahead and talk about this Bravo element, right? The action right, right? Why we sent Alpha Team to be the support by fire? Because they were the closest unit to contact. They were the most engaged unit. Bravo Team being the least engaged unit in the rear, they have freedom of maneuver due to one, time and space, as well as the support by fire doing the supporting by suppression or by fire. Squad leader calls out action right. Typically, the squad leader is going to want to stay in a position where he can still communicate with both teams, right? It's up to you based on the situation as a squad leader, if you're the squad leader, to stay here with the support by fire or to go with the maneuver element, okay? So right now, immediate fire superiority. The squad leader immediately calls for an action right. Bravo Team is already moving. They're already huffing and puffing, man. They're full sending. All right. By about here, they've called sustained rate for Alpha Team. They're still maneuvering. They're still maneuvering. Now, this distance, right, there is no doctrinal distance in which you are to go for this maneuver. Okay. It's whatever the situation calls for, right? If it's open area, all right here, you probably want to move a little bit further out where there is cover and concealment, whether it be a defilade, meaning like terrain covering you and concealing you, or vegetation, right? But you never want to do a flank out in the middle of the open, because the point of a flank, right, is to essentially get an angle on the enemy that he's not expecting. But if he sees you doing this flank out in the open, he's going to know it's coming. He'll be ready for you. So you got a decent distance. You go through cover and concealment. Say there's we'll just say that there's like rocks, a rocky hill, whatever, right? You now are on a perfect 90-degree angle, right? So if we were to draw a 90-degree angle in red, or we'll do purple, right? So here's your 90-degree angle. Okay. You are now within a relative distance, hopefully within 50, where you can begin assaulting through the enemy. Okay, so we'll just say 50 just for scenario sake. Now, what is assaulting through the enemy? This is the finish, right? The final F, the finish. What does that mean? Okay, well, this means that you are essentially going to buddy rush, like fire and movement, or cover and move. You're just going to close the distance, these last 50 meters, to get close to the enemy. Okay. In doing so, you can use your direct fire weapon systems, your grenadier, your grenades, things of that nature. Okay. And so as you continue, right, as you get closer, you need to be having incredible violence of action and speed. Okay. You use surprise, right? Speed, surprise, violence of action, right? You got them already on the surprise. Now you need to really hit home on the speed, or on the speed and the violence of action. So you're shooting a lot. You're throwing a lot of grenades. You're creating chaos. And essentially what's going to happen is, as you guys move, right? Remember, this was Ted, the support Ted unit. This is Ting, the support Ting unit. They're going to see Ted or the maneuver moving right to left. What should we do when we see friendlies? We need to essentially shift our fires in the same direction of travel that our friendlies are moving, so that we are essentially leading them to prevent fratricide or blue on blue. So every time they hit what's called an MSL, which is a minimum safe line, in this case, it's going to be the right minimum safe line, MSL. It's called breaking the MSL. We are then going to shift our fires to the left. Okay. X amount of meters, X amount of degrees to a specific TRP or target reference point, whatever the fire team leader calls out. Then they're going to continue. They're going to continue. Okay. Oh, they hit our next MSL. All right, we need to shift again. Okay. Right. At this time, they should be doing like face-to-face, nose-to-nose, dead checks, killing guys, et cetera, et cetera. They continue. They hit another one, and we're going to shift a final time. They're going to continue through until they hit an LOA. Right. So we finish them. Right. This is the first 2/3 of the finish piece. Okay. We finished the enemy. We've done our dead checks, and especially in Bellum, it's important. Make sure you dead check. Hit them in the head once or twice. And then you're going to hit what's called an LOA. So I'm at my LOA. Oop, that's an M. Wow. LOA. Limit of advance. Your limit of advance can be tied to a distance, to a piece of terrain, whatever you want to call it. But what this does is one, is for coordination, and two, it prevents you from overshooting, right? You don't want to outrun your supporting units, okay? So if I'm not mutually supported by Alpha team because Bravo team decided to go way out over here, right? It might be difficult for Alpha to keep track with us, all right? So we hit our limit of advance. At our limit of advance, we're going to do a few things. We're going to do, in real life, you do like an ACE report, or some people go LACE. L stands for liquid, A is ammo, C is casualties, E is equipment. In Bellum, all you really need to worry about is ammo and casualty. Okay. Now this is what it would sound like as a fire team leader. Alpha team, ACE reports from left to right. All right. So if we're down here, this is Alpha team. And their direction of travel is this way, right? Left to right would be starting with this guy is number 1, this guy is number 2, this guy is number 3, and this guy is number 4. Okay. So this guy number 1, because it's Bellum, we don't really need to worry about the L for liquid. And we don't need to worry about like E for equipment, just ammo and casualties. People get this mixed up. But ammo is any ordnance or munition, right? A rocket is not equipment. That is ammo. It blows up. It shoots. It goes boom. C4 is not equipment. That is blows up. It's munition. It goes boom. A claymore, that is a munition. It goes up. It blows up. Equipment is something like a ladder, a breaching tool, wire cutters, your scope, your PEC, your PEC 15, your suppressor, those things that you can't actually worry about falling off in the game. That's what E stands for. So people get that twisted. So here it's just A and C. So AC, ammo and casualty. So all right, Alpha team, left to right, ACE reports. Grenadier, 5 mags, 5.56, 3 40 mic, 2 smokes. I got hit my left arm and my right leg, but I'm good to go. I can keep up. All right, cool. The second guy, right? You don't hear from him. You're like, oh shit, I'm missing the second dude. Maybe it's your rifleman. You don't hear from him at all. All right, you got to keep that in check. You got to keep that in mind, right? Because it's important. Then you do your own ACE report as a third guy. So let's say that you have 10 mags, right? And then you go to the last guy on the far right, automatic rifleman, this much ammo, I'm not hit at all, da-da-da-da. You take all those numbers, add them up. So what you're doing is you're doing mental math. How many more fights could you possibly engage, right? This is important because this ties into the influence and if I have to go back to the FOB to rearm and stuff like that. But, all right, cool. I have my ammo. And then I also got my casualty. I didn't hear from the second dude, which tells me that in the middle of the fight, I lost somebody. So I immediately report up to my squad leader. Hey, this is Alpha team. I have this much ammo and 5.56 mag, this much ammo and 5.56 box for my saw, this many 40 mic. I have 1 casualty. I'm going to go back and grab him. Okay. So at this point in time, 2 things can happen. Squad leaders cannot essentially go with like or the squad leaders can go with something along the lines of, I can pull up my supporting unit, which was Alpha Team, to Bravo Team. I'll do this in like do this in orange. I can take Alpha Team and say, all right, cool, we're going to consolidate with you guys up at your LOA, and then we're going to hold the north while you guys keep holding west. Okay, so now we have another 90 degrees. All right. So Alpha Team is right here on this line. Bravo Team, like I said, is on this line. I'm sorry, I know I'm getting real cluttered here with the drawings. I'll try and keep it a little bit cleaner. From here, the squad leader can say, all right, cool, we're going to set into a hasty defense, and we're going to wait for essentially like further on tasking, or maybe I need to continue mission, or maybe I need to send up an interrogative or question to the PL and ask him what he wants us to do, et cetera, et cetera. Or what could happen is the squad leader says, all right, hey, Alpha Team, you're good. We're going to hold here, grab your casualty, bring it back to us, right? In both scenarios, the casualty is going to get picked up regardless, all right? So we've hit find, fix, and finish. Boom. Those are your 3 Fs. Before I move on to combat casualty care, or it's TCCC, tactical combat casualty care, or care under fire, do I have any questions about any of this? I'm going to read the side chat real quick before we start opening up questions. Ways, if you spot them 100 to 150 meters away or farther, but terrain is unfavorable, how do you manage? Do you try to keep the 150 gap or close the distance till favorable terrain is achieved? You want to wait until the most opportune time, right? You never want to overexpose or unnecessarily risk your forces just for the sake of, I see them, I need to shoot them right now. It doesn't make any sense. If you are fighting from unfavorable terrain, do not fight from unfavorable terrain. There's no point. Why would you? It's unfavorable. Wait until you have an opportunity for more favorable terrain, right? Even if it means letting them go. Observing and reporting and letting an enemy pass for another adjacent unit or friendly unit to take the fight in favorable terrain or position themselves in favorable terrain is way better option than trying to fight these guys when they have the high ground. Doesn't make any sense. You know what I'm saying? Anecdote. We're going to hold off on the anecdotes for the sake of time. But by all means, later after the class, if you want to throw an anecdote out, you can. If we're not including ordnance inside of equipment, that should probably change. Yep, thank you. We can work on that. Okay, KB, it's MSL, minimum safe line or safety line, minimum safe line, right? That's the line in which, okay, never mind, you got it, thumbs up. All right, does anyone have any, all right, now I'm going to open up the floor. Anyone have any questions about this down and dirty, find, fix, finish?
Is it safe to assume that the SL should always be staying with the supporting unit? And if not, what are the conditions that the SL should be going with the support TED unit on the offensive maneuver?
So I don't say this to hurt anyone's feelings. If you have we'll say a not incompetent, but maybe he's a newer fire team leader. In the world of Bellum, I'm saying this specific to Bellum, if he's like a little bit newer, maybe not as competent tactics, I would argue in the Bellum sphere, in the Bellum world, squad leader should go with that fire team leader, because the maneuver has if the maneuver gets mass cast, you guys are screwed. Okay, that's in the Bellum world. In real world, it would depend, right? If I have an A/ or an assistant squad leader, I would leave him at the supporting unit, while I went with the support TED unit, right? I would let my assistant squad leader handle all fires, the same way platoon sergeant does for his platoon, while the platoon commander goes with the maneuver element, right? The other part of it could be, hey, maybe you have a shit hot team leader. He's a pipe hitter, right? And you are more worried about blue on blue because the terrain is super thick, it's vegetated. You can't quite see the enemy, but you know that the fire team leader that you're sending on the maneuver and yourself have a pretty good trust with each other. And you guys kind of like, when you work with someone for long enough, you kind of almost read what they're going to do next kind of thing. Maybe you have one of those scenarios and you're like, you know what, I'm going to stay back, control the fires to avoid blue on blue. I know typically how he does this, so I'm going to stay back, control the fire so we don't shoot each other, right? The age-old situation dictates. I know it sucks, but that's kind of like the answer there, because it wouldn't make sense to dictate, hey, you're always going to stay with the maneuver, or you're always going to stay with the support by fire, because what if that's not needed? You know, what if it was more necessary for you to go with the maneuver, but doctrine stated that you had to stay with the support? It kind of screws the pooch, right? So we have to be flexible. Those are just some examples. You will definitely find as a squad leader, it's going to be very important that you get to know your fire team leaders, even during the staging, right? You know, get an idea. Hey man, how long you been playing? You know, that kind of thing. So sorry, I'm putting my kid in my lap. He's learning tactics too. So, you know, does that answer your question at least?
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
cool.
That's a good base. It's one of those things I'll probably learn it more in detail.
Experience will be your best teacher. I'm not gonna lie to you. You got to do it a lot. Yeah. Yeah.
You don't know, right?
Yeah, and no one's gonna, if you're new here, no one's gonna hit you for being new, right? I'd rather you say, hey, I'm new at fire team leading, I'm trying it out, I'm just trying to get a feel for it. You know, as a squad leader, your job is not to berate them. It's supposed to, like, you know, in TWS we have a saying, rising tides raise all ships. Help him, right? It's better for the community. And if you're a fire team leader, right, tell your squad leader, hey, I'm a little bit new. You know, I'm still learning the ropes. You know, I'm more than willing to listen. Just tell me what you need me to do, and I'll do it to the best of my ability. You know, that kind of thing. That's kind of where we're coming from with that. What else do we have? What other questions we got for the fire and maneuver? New mill sim in general. I would think a competent enemy would try to make the same maneuver. Is there a common counter? Okay, so Kabocha. So for your question, it's not necessarily like a common counter. It's more so of like 4D chess and who can do it quicker, right? This is why the 3 pillars of speed, surprise, violence of action are very important, right? Because you're right. What if we're playing against each other, Kabocha? What if you know this same tactic and I know this same tactic? What if we both try and do it at the same time? One of us has to be faster, right? Out of the 3 pillars of speed, surprise, violence of action, whoever's faster doing this maneuver is going to win. Whoever has more violence is going to win, meaning they're outputting more rounds on the enemy than they are taking from the enemy, right? That's kind of one way you can look at it. The other way you can look at it is who is going to play 4, 5, 6, 7 steps ahead. So example, Kabocha, if me and you both know this tactic, I could then say, you know what? First rule of the infantryman is deception in all things. Let me go ahead and let him maneuver on me, but I'm going to set up a hasty ambush because I know he's going to maneuver on me. I know that he's going to try and flank me from either my left or right. So let me go ahead and start pointing guys to my left and right. So when they try and run up on us, I'm already ready for them. Right? It's all about thinking ahead, kind of like that. What about AZ's Charlie team? RPGs probably work best as a support by fire or a nasty flank attack. All right, cool. I'm glad you asked, right? So this find, fix, finish is great for general purpose across the board factions. Now, when you start talking about separate strengths of each faction, you can talk about Satyrs, HE assets. Satyr has an insane amount of HE. Like the pump action grenade launcher is wild if you know how to use it, right? The Al-Zalam's 10% speed boost and extra lives. That's a strength of their own. They get RPGs as well. They have a Charlie team. You know, the Rangers 240 and their armor, right? And their suppressed weapons, right? That's a strength of their own. So for Al-Zalam specifically, because you asked about Al-Zalam, I would argue use them in a way where your violence of action or your surprise can best be achieved. So in this instance, imagine you got the drop on these dudes, right? Okay, so before I erase this, does anyone want to take a screenshot of this? My little, if not, I'm just going to erase it all. Going once.
I got one more. I'll drop it in the chat.
Okay, cool. I'm going to go ahead and erase this then for everybody. Daddy. Yes, buddy. All right, cool. So for his question there, KB, so if you have, in this instance, enemy ranger squad, and you are a Al-Zalam squad, right? We're just going to say this is the Al-Zalam squad as one cohesive unit right now, the 3 fire teams. You have, in this instance, in this situation, right, you have the drop on them. You're going to do a hasty ambush. You could do this, right, because we talked about this. quickly send out a Bravo team over here, leave your Alpha team here, send your Charlie team right here. The Marine Corps does this, right? The Marine Corps works in 3 fire teams, and Bellum, you play as Rangers, so you're working in 2. But I'm a Marine, so I tend to the Marine Corps tactics, and that's why I like the 3-man fire teams, is because this is flexible, way more flexible. Because guess what? If I have Alpha as the base unit, the supporting unit, and I send Bravo on a flank, and Bravo hits what's called a surface, meaning the enemy is like say prepared, or they can't push anymore, then maybe I tell them, hey, hold there and just keep them distracted. And I just sent Charlie team on a pincer movement, and now I have the enemy on 3 separate sides, right? And now he has to choose where does he want to focus his fires, because if he focuses his fires only here, I'll do this in orange. If he focuses all his fires here, that opens up the right and the left. If he has to decide, all right, I'm going to split my fires here and here, that opens up his left. If he decides, all right, I need to spread all my fires across the board, he now has thinned out his fires so much that enough rounds and explosives into his general area is going to collapse one of these sides. That's how I would use Al-Zalam. 3 fire teams, 3 separate vectors of attack. We also talked about this, Uncle Sam. Well, so think about it. We're not Uncle Sam. We're Al-Zalam. We're not playing like Uncle Sam. You know what I mean?
What you probably wouldn't do is actually send Bravo and Charlie all the way up, like you said. You'd have Charlie.
No. Well, actually, hold on. It depends. You know, a Polish ambush. This is a real thing. A Polish ambush is where you're using terrain as a mitigation factor. So if these guys are in a bowl, if the enemy here is in a bowl and you're on elevated terrain here, here, and here, and you're all shooting down, there's your mitigation factor. You don't have to worry about blue on blue anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that makes sense.
You know, maybe you do have, maybe it's all flat terrain. Maybe it's all flat terrain, right? And instead, you use a terrain. Instead of it being a bowl, a depression, it could be, hey, maybe there is a thick tree line here, and you just take cover behind rocks and veg, thick tree line here, rocks and veg. And you say, and then the squad leaders back here, Charlie team push, or Charlie team open up, Charlie team shoot. All right, Charlie team take cover. Charlie team then gets behind rocks and bushes and trees, and they get prone. Bravo team push, shoot. This guy here is so discombobulated because he's going to hit from the left, the right, the front, and it keeps swapping. How many of you guys have been fighting Al-Zalam and it feels like they're everywhere at once? You cause mass hysteria and confusion because all you're doing is you're attacking. And the other part of this is, right, you want to be mobile as Al-Zalam. You never want to sit there and just shoot from one place and stay there. So if here we go, Charlie team is shooting from here, Bravo team shooting from here, Alpha from here. Alpha can stay to be the main supporting unit and the main distraction. Charlie team shoots for 30 seconds, picks off 1 or 2 dudes, moves over here. Shoots for a little bit. Bravo team, maybe he comes back this way, right? Maybe he comes over here. Eventually, you've encircled these dudes so much so that they don't know what's going on. So that's how I would employ the 3 teams of Al-Zalam. Exactly. All right. I hope that answers your question, KB.
Yeah, it does.
Cool. Here we go. No, those are replying to that. Those are replying to that. Say, as an SL, you tell Bravo to action left or action right, action left, but for some reason, an IFV, action reinforcement, whatever, you need to decide to break contact. How that happens fluidly and efficiently. All right, cool. Back to our X's and O's. Here's your Alpha team. They're doing their suppression. You have your Bravo team. They're going on that flank. As Bravo team starts to move up, all of a sudden they ran into maybe an adjacent enemy team that was over here that we weren't ready for or that they had been prepared for. You are going to instantly recognize you have hit what's called a surface, right? In the Marine Corps, in a school called Infantry Small Unit Leaders Course, you have surfaces and gaps. The saying is avoid the surfaces, exploit the gaps. So I have now hit, as I was trying to go this way, right? I have hit a surface, an enemy surface, meaning I am running into a large volume of fire. I cannot move forward anymore. I've hit a wall. I'm going to bounce off of that wall by popping smoke. engaging, and then I'm going to pull back. I'm either going to pull back or I'm going to continue to try and do another wider flank. It depends. I can't tell you doctrinally which way is perfect. You want to be doctrinally sound, not doctrinally bound. Spirit of the law over letter of the law. If doctrine says you need to go back to the rear, right? Maybe that's not feasible at this time. Maybe it's more advantageous to go to the right and try a wider flank. All right, so don't get tied up in doctrine. So you want to have a good foundation in doctrine, but you don't want that to be your end all be all. So you'd pop smoke, get your base of fire set, and then start telling dudes to break contact or do a action right again. Right? But the communication is going to be huge. These two need to be on the same wavelength with the SL in the middle. Maybe not exactly right here, but somehow communicating, probably radio, what's happening. Because the SL might say, oh, whoa, Bravo team, I like the initiative. Pull back, though. Pull back. I know you want to flank out to the right wider. I'd rather you pull back down south. We're going to pull completely disengage and before we take too many casualties, right? Best thing for people to recognize is when you've hit a surface, because you don't know, right? There's a lot of unknowns in this instance. You don't know if there's a third fire team waiting, right? Because we know maybe it's Al Salam. Maybe they have Alpha Bravo Charlie. You have no idea. Unknowns are gonna get most people killed, right? You have to obviously assume some risk here, but if there's too many unknowns, like, hey, I just hit not only one fire team but two, I can assume there's a third. Let me back up. Now, in terms of how to do that, that's going to be a separate class. I don't want to get too tied up in the weeds with that, but we'll pin that question for later. Let's see. Usually breaking up, leading, yep. Yep, I like that loading. Correct. Surfaces. What does Bravo say when this happens? Is there a common phrase other than surface? You can say you could say, honestly, if you could really just say, I've hit a surface, or I cannot go any further, or I am being suppressed, or I've run into another fire team. You don't need any special words unless that's, an SOP set by your unit, clan, maybe your platoon leader, right, but staging. You just need to effectively communicate. Clear, crisp, and concise is what I tell my guys. You don't want to say a 99-page thesis or your whole life story. Hey, I've run into an enemy fire team. They have a grenadier. He's wearing a blue shirt. He's 25 meters in front of me. I'm getting shot a lot. Like, no. It should simply be, hey, I've hit a surface. I'm pulling back. Hey, I've hit a surface. I'm doing a wider flank to the right. That's it. And then your SL will come over comms. Hey, don't do that. Or, hey, you're good to go. That kind of thing. All right. I'll get one more question before we move because it's already 48 minutes into this. We still have to hit casualty care, like tactical combat casualty care and care under fire stuff. One more question. Any question at all before I push?
No, go ahead. I have another question, but go on.
Okay, all right. We're going to go ahead and go on. So let me go ahead and erase all of this. All right. All right. Next, we're going to move into... All right, casualty care under fire. This is going to be the shortest, probably 5 minutes. Check me out. Bad guy. You. Bravo. Wow, terrible drawings. On the flank. Okay. You're here. You take a casualty. Right here. There's four of you. One of you decides to try and render aid to that casualty while the other two are shooting. How many guns are now out of the fight? Anyone? Two. You've lost half of your firepower because of one casualty because someone decided they wanted to help him before finishing the fight. Don't do that. Stop doing that. I don't know how many times I've seen squads get wiped or pinned down because a casualty went down. One casualty, one person, right? Here's another saying for you. Dead bodies attract dead bodies. He will bleed out. He has a bleed out timer. He'll be okay. Even if he does bleed out and die, you would rather have one loss versus four. Win the fight first. Rounds down range is a casualty's best medicine because check it out. Something cool about this is say that casualty goes down. You recognize he went down and you say, hey, squad lead, I lost a dude. I'm going to continue the fight. Can you send the squad medic around here? Cool. Squad medic comes, and now he starts working the casualty while you guys continue the fight. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I hope that's clear and abundant across the board, guys. Please stop trying to treat casualties in the middle of a firefight unless you are the designated medic. Unless you are the designated medic, platoon or squad, do not work casualties until the fight is over. There's countless videos online of people trying to help someone, and then they go to help someone, and guess what happens? If your buddy just died right there, what do you think the enemy is doing? He's probably looking right where he dropped your homie. That tells you something. I probably shouldn't go to where my buddy just died. Because either A, someone saw him and shot him, meaning if I go out there, they'll see me and shoot me, or B, I'm in a position where to get shot, whether the enemy knows it or not. Here comes a random frag. I'm sitting there, you're sitting there working your homie. The enemy shot your homie, doesn't know if he killed him or not yet, so he's going to check it with a frag. And you're on the body trying to heal him. Drop, drop, drop. Here's a frag in your face. So no more cheating casualties on the X. Wait till the end. Wait till the firefight's over. And even if that means, hey, I have hit a surface, I need to break contact, and you leave that dude there, leave him there. It's just a game. We're not no man left behind. Like, it's just a video game. It will be okay. He will respawn. Pixels. He's okay. I promise. What else we got? That's pretty much it. That's it for combat casualty fair.
Someone asked a question about rendering self-aid if you get shot and you're still up.
Okay, yeah. So it's called the 3 echelons of treatment. Immediate echelons of treatment are going to be self-aid, buddy aid, and the Marine Corps we call it corpsman aid. It could, we could also call it, medic aid. Basically, if you get shot, before you start working on yourself, you need to go prone and find cover and concealment if you can. If it's catastrophic, you're hitting like an arterial bleed, say your left and right leg are absolutely like bloodshot red and you see gray, drop to the prone, hit the tourniquet, right? Tourniquet your arm, tourniquet your leg. Do not bandage, hit the tourniquet, stop the bleeding first. Then once you do that, move to cover and concealment, maybe like a rock or maybe a clump of trees, then bandage. Just stop the bleeding and this arterial bleed, then get out of there. If you look in the chat, they're telling you, how to do that. What else? Any other questions for TCCC? Tactical Combat Casualty Care or Care Under Fire? Biggest takeaway from this: dead bodies attract dead bodies. Don't try and render aid until the fight's over, or until at least it's safe to render aid, and you're like one of the guys in the rear, or you're the platoon or squad medic.
And there's a mental explanation of why you feel so much urge to go help your buddy that is on the ground. It's because it's simple. It's you see your buddy's down, you can be useful by trying to patch him up. But it's harder to think of how to win the fight, but it's the good thing to do. Like, you need to wrap your head around how to win the fight, to secure the area, and after take care of your buddy, because the easiest path of feeling useful is to just go on the prone, crawl to your buddy, and try to treat him. But if you get shot, you're even in more trouble. So.
Yep. All right. Any final questions for TCCC, Tactical Combat Casualty Care / Care Under Fire? Going once, going twice. All right, 3 times sold. Now we're going to move into the final piece of tonight, which is going to be post actions, which is essentially like what happens after the fight. So we kind of touched on this a little bit with the second half of the finish, so find, fix, finish, right? Which we talked about the limit of advance, getting your ACE reports. We're going to go a little bit more in depth with this. And what does that look like? All right, so you've gotten your ACE reports. You see that you have a lot of ammo left over. Hold on, my dogs are barking. You see you have a lot of ammo left over. Everyone's up. You didn't take any casualties. Maybe you only took 1 casualty. You're just waiting for him to respawn. but you still have a mission to accomplish. Maybe you got ambushed along the way, right? All right, cool, that's fine, but you still have to get to where you're going. The first thing you want to do is get out of there as fast as possible, right? So why do I say that? Let's say you're in this vegetated terrain, and there's more vegetated terrain and more vegetated terrain. That engagement just happened right here, okay? As you were moving this way, because you need to get to, we'll say this is your OBJ. This is where you were told to go, but you got ambushed along the way. You need to be cognizant that, guess what, the enemy has already done. The second you guys took contact, reported it, right? He's let the rest of his team know, hey, there's an enemy unit, fire team, squad, whatever, at my location. What's going to happen to all the other people that are in all these other vegetated terrain areas that you may not have seen, you missed, or didn't know about? They're going to do what's called convergence. They are hungry for the fight. They're going to start trying to find you, because remember, they're also doing the find, fix, and finish. Whether they recognize that they're doing that or not, they heard a fight. They're looking to, they're trying to find you, and then they're going to try and finish you. Okay, that's the whole job of the game. That's the whole purpose of the game, right? Is to kill the enemy more than he kills you to win. So they're going to start to converge on your position. The best course of action you can do is what's called a J hook, and it's going to be. This is not doctrinal. I'm not teaching you doctrinal stuff. I'm out now about to teach you stuff that aren't in any pubs. This is kind of just stuff I've seen work a lot, which is a reverse J hook. So I recognize that I have been in this area. People know I'm here. I'm going to do what's called a reverse J hook. I'm going to go back the same direction that I came. I know, or I can assume that that is the most safe and cleared out because I just came from there. And I'm going to J hook around away from where that fight was. It could be, it could look something like this. You do not want to keep going the same direction you were traveling, because it's already been reported that you were moving from northwest to southeast. That's where they took contact. People are going to try and set up an ambush, probably like right here. They're going to wait for you to cross this open danger area and try and hit you there. So that's where they're focused. So you need to think a few steps ahead. If I were the enemy, it's called red selling. If I were the enemy and I just heard a bunch of dudes take contact from this location that he called out, and he said they were moving southeast, what would I do? I'd probably set up an ambush in the direction of travel that he was last reported going. So you need now to take, that's 2 steps ahead. Now I need to move the 3rd step ahead, which is, all right, I know my enemy is thinking this. I know my enemy, or I can presume that he's going to do that. So how can I counter this? I'm going to do the reverse J hook. I'm going to vacate the area in which I came, and I'm going to take an alternate route to get to my objective that's not leading me straight towards the enemy or possible ambush. So that is going to be like after the fight, what happens? Because the biggest takeaway, get out of here. Leave. Do not stay here. I will say this again. Do not stay where you just took contact, because convergence. People are coming to hunt you and find you. Now, the only time this doesn't apply is if you are purposely being set in as a feint. A feint, F-E-I-N-T, is a deception tactic where I am purposely trying to get the attention of the enemy to draw him in. I'm going to leave it at that, because that's a whole nother class, a whole nother thing that we can go over, because that's a whole class on its own. But time on deck is 8:59 p.m. my time, or at least it's been roughly an hour. Is there any questions over anything I have covered tonight? Anything at all? Any questions whatsoever?
I guess not.
Okay. Well, go ahead, send it. So it's going to be. So this is what we covered in last week's class, which is individual actions or 1,000 level tasks, which is essentially like find a job and security first, security always. If I'm being told, hey, I need to hold this direction, and I know my other team is holding, we'll say, for example, if I'm being told I need to watch to the west and another team's watching to the north, and say I'm the furthest guy down here in this group of 4, I'm going to go ahead and like assume that these 3 can cover down this way. So let me go ahead and look this way, right? Or maybe even say, hey, TL, I'm going to go ahead and bump out to the east, southeast, make sure no one's coming up from behind us. A good team leader will be like, you're absolutely right, dude. Go ahead and bump off, right? And then you do. You now sit here, and now you have coverage this way. These guys are covering this way. These guys will be covering west, and because you communicate that to your TL, it should be assumed, or not assumed, it should be common sense that you have 360-degree security. No, it's all good, dude. It's all good. Ugh.
Briefly going back to TCCC.
Yep.
You want to keep fighting until you win the fight. Is that you need to completely finish the fight before you start dealing with that casualty, or is it sort of a gradient where eventually you're only, there's a few pot shots every few minutes from the enemy, so you've effectively won the fight?
So remember how I talked about like the platoon medic or the squad medic? We don't call it, kind of being sent up after the maneuver element has kind of gained some ground. That's an option. Another option would be, hey, I need to verify that it is safe enough to render aid to this dude. The way you can do that is, oh shit, oh, my son just pooped his pants, dude. Hold on, I gotta throw this in the sink real quick. One thing that you can do also is you can essentially just communicate around and say, hey, person X, person Y, do you guys got this? Like, say you're referring to the fight at hand. Yeah, say it's your saw gunner. Oh, perfect example. Your saw gunner's laying hate, dude. He's sitting there and he's just spraying it down, right? He's providing cover fire in order for you to conduct that action of going back to save your homie, right? Especially if your homie is like, if he's relatively close and he's behind cover and conceal, maybe a frag got him. So they just got a lucky frag over, where he was at. That's like probably your best, one of your better chances of getting your dude. But the main question you have to ask yourself, is the juice worth the squeeze? In the moment right now, could I successfully save my dude and bring him back into the fight, right? Because, hey, maybe you do get it. Maybe you are able to save him. He gets back in the fight and, maybe he was a saw gunner. You need that saw up, right? Maybe it's like, I have to risk this. But again, communication is key, because if you're going to risk that, what's something, let's okay, knowledge check, or let's do critical thinking, Cap. If you're going to go back and save your saw gunner and you're on the maneuver element, here's a scenario. You're in contact, you're on the maneuver, saw gunner goes down as you're maneuvering. Your saw gunner is about 15 meters away from you behind a rock. You're the fire team leader. What do you think you need to communicate or should do in order to save your saw gunner to get his gun up?
At minimum, you've got to get a hold of the other guys in your team and communicate to them that he has gone down and you're going to pick him up. Bare minimum, you got to let them know that you guys are, I guess, halting movement on your maneuver.
Okay. We're kind of there. Like, this is good. But think about it, right? You have, we talk about guns in the fight. Let's use goblins and Jedi as example, right? So 1, Jedi, good on you for thinking about communication. Sweet. But who else do we need to communicate with?
The 2.
The rest of the fire team. Get fire
Who else?
superiority.
Pick, I would
Who
assume.
else? Who else?
Your SL.
Yes. We have. Remember, it's not just you. Remember, zoom out a little bit. It's not just you now in the fight. Who still has guns? Who's still shooting? Your supporting element. Remember, if someone's gonna go do something, if one gun is out of the fight because he was a casualty, and we send someone else to go take care of him, that's 2 guns out of the fight. What do we? Okay, so that's fast forward.
The volume of fire.
Exactly. You increase the volume of fire, right? You increase rates. You're increasing rates to supplement for the loss of rifles in the fight. So I'm sitting there. I'm like, hey, I need to go pick up my boy. He's my saw gunner, SL or Bravo team leader or Alpha team leader, whoever's on the supporting, whatever position. I need you to increase rates. Go to rapid rate. Roger, rapid rate. Die, motherfucker, die, die. Die, motherfucker, die, die. Die, motherfucker, die, die. During that time, you go and you help your homeboy out. You pick him up, right? You don't have to stay with him. Just plug all the bullet holes, right? Make sure he can get back up because remember, you're using ammo at this point. So that's a little bit of a scenario to put you through, right? So you have tools at your disposal. At any point in time, right, your maneuver element is priority. Because again, if you lose your maneuver element, you essentially have lost the fight because guess what's going to have to happen? The supporting unit is going to have to break contact and find a way to either wait for them to respawn or reconstitute somewhere else. And that is a loss. A lot of people I see, they lose a fire team, they say, hey, I've lost Alpha fire team, and they stay there. Why? For what reason? You are 50% manpower within your squad, and you think that you're going to have enough firepower to take on the people that just schwacked half of your dudes? Doesn't make any sense. So that's just a little food for thought, right? You do not have to stay and duke it out every firefight. It's a game. Let your boys respawn. Because they're going to do the same thing. I guarantee you they're doing the same thing. They're freaking trying to find a way to get their boys back in the fight. They may see if they know they've mass cased one of your fire teams. If I have a squad leader and one of my homies rated up, hey, we just wiped a fire team, and I'm still getting shot at by the same squad, I'm going to press that fight and I'm going to wipe you. Because I know now there's only one fire team left. That's an easy find, fix, and finish. That's an easy flank. Because now the odds are 2-on-1 versus 1-to-1. That's just a little. You don't have to. That's just my opinion, right? You don't have to do that. I'm just saying, just from a numbers standpoint, not even a skill standpoint, from a numbers standpoint, you're already fighting an unfair fight. What else we got? That was a good question.
Back to the beginning for the rifle report. How is that different from a SEAL's halt? Is a rifle report while you're moving, and a SEAL's halt is obviously when you're halted?
Yeah, so SILS, stop, look, listen, smell, for people who don't know what that is. The purpose of a SILS halt is you're trying to gain as much information as you can, right, about like an area, terrain, maybe even an enemy, right? But SILS halt are normally used when you are trying to infiltrate an enemy, maybe enemy-occupied terrain or something of that nature. SILS halt is your static. You're kind of just waiting. A rifle report falls under a SILS halt because stop, look, listen, right? You listen, you heard the rifle report, but more times than not, people in Bellum aren't doing SILS halts. They're shift key W to wherever they're trying to go. They hear the freaking, they hear the gun go off, and that's called a rifle report. The rifle is literally reporting its location. That's all it is.
Tracking.
Let me see. I'm sorry, I am not next to my computer at the moment. I'm trying to get to. Okay, let's see. Any other questions? I'm down for all kinds of questions. So if you guys got them, it doesn't even have to. The heck? It doesn't even have to do with what we talked about. It can be anything tactics related now. Nothing.
Crickets.
Crickets. Okay. Well, if that's everything, then that concludes the class, ladies and gentlemen. If you have anything for me, you can always DM me on the side. I'll try and get to you as soon as I can, help out wherever I can. If this is your first Tactics Tuesday, thank you for coming by. We do this every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Yeah. Awesome.
There's also
Word.
tons of resources in the TWS server. I believe most of us here are from the TWS server, so if you have questions, post it in Community General or Tactics Talk. People will give you. We have heaps of knowledge there.
Well.
Were we gonna run a skirmish?
I don't see why we can't. It's up to you guys. I'm not gonna be around because I'm on my Grey Zone Warfare grind at the moment. I gotta level up my vendors. I got tasks to complete. But if you guys want to run a skirmish, I don't see why that would be something that can't happen. Clyde's here, so if you guys want to have a specific thing, lean into Clyde. Good dude. He'll help you out as best he can, right, Clyde? He said yes. I know he did.
Yeah, I heard it. I didn't hear it now.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
Dude, I can go make coffee in peace. Yeah, we guys are ready. I'll roll over the server. You guys have some matches. Have fun. Just let me know when you guys
Yeah.
want to play.
Hell yeah. All right. I'll catch y'all later.
All right, thanks, War Daddy.
Thank you, War Daddy.
Yeah, War.
Thank you.
All right, you guys wanting to get a skirmish going? Do we want to get Clee to roll that over right now to gameplay? Because right now damage is turned off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
do we want to play the small map or just a big normal layer?
I'll put up a big map.
Small map.
I'll put up the classic.
We're playing
So,
on
training.
Clee said you
Yeah,
get
can
what you
shoot
get.
each
You
other
don't
now?
throw a fit.
Yeah, I guess.
Let's see.
Later, KB.
Oh, that's the worst one.
No worries. This weekend it should be center bias AO and be easier. With a little more focus on where the fight would be.
Alrighty, I'm going to kill the stream
Yes,
for anybody that's watching.